So, nice, easy standing pose, whatever that feels like for you this morning. Just starting to notice the connection between the soles of our feet and whatever surface or prop we're standing on. And then, as long as it's comfortable for you, starting to allow the gaze to soften or maybe eyes to close. Coming back to that sense of that grounded foundation at the soles of the feet. Just feeling that support, connection, or grounded foundation. And then imagine that you could press a little more firmly into the feet to start to create length in the body. So we're going to press into the feet, imagine rising up away from the feet, and the crown of the head starts to draw up towards the sky. So we have our earth connection at our feet. We have the crown of our head opening up towards the space above us. Imagining that nice long spine as we stand supported in Tadasana, mountain pose. And I should probably pause and say, actually, because of the two of you, I was a little teary this morning, tears of gratitude. So if I start crying on you, they're happy tears. All right, so let's bring our awareness to the low belly and start to check in with our breath. So not shifting anything just yet, just starting to observe the sense of your breath coming in. What does it feel like entering through the nose or the mouth? Where does it travel to? What sort of movement does it create? And then noticing the same thing with the exhales. What is the sense of that breath leaving the body? Does it feel complete? Does it feel like there's still a little air at the bottom of the breath? And then starting to deepen into your in-breath, inviting that air a little further down into the lungs, maybe imagining we could breathe all the way down into the belly, feeling the ribs draw outward in all directions. And then slowing down our exhales. So these really deep, expansive inhales, slow exhales. Just move through a few more like this on your own. And then starting to let the body settle back to whatever feels like natural breathing rhythm for you this morning. And then using a breath to bring the hands to heart center. So with an inhale, sweeping the hands wide and overhead, letting the palms meet. With an exhale, bringing those thumbs to the sternum. Staying here, or if you like, finding a little bow to the head, drawing the nose down toward the tips of the fingers. And then just taking a moment here to cultivate a little bit of love or compassion or gratitude, being mindful of the things that we do still have, the opportunities that we have available, the people that we are able to remain close to. And allowing the eyes to float open, and we'll find another big in-breath to sweep those hands back up overhead. And with an exhale, coming all the way over to a forward fold. So finding a nice big bend into the knees, drawing those hands down through heart center, and then just slow rolling down over the thighs, letting fingertips reach down toward the floor. We have blocks toward blocks, maybe a big enough bend into the knees that fingertips can come all the way down to the floor. And then just create a little side to side movement in the hips, maybe lifting one heel and then the other, or figure eighting the hip side to side. perhaps dangling into the upper body, bringing hands to opposite elbows if you like. And then either reach or walk those hands over toward the outside edge of your left foot. Say good morning to that right hip, side body. Find a little more stretch. And then moving back through center, over to the opposite side. Slow walking back through center. Again, generous bend into the knees, letting the upper body dangle and starting a slow roll back towards standing. Eventually finding that Tadasana, mountain pose, little shoulder roll at the top as center of the head aligns right back over the center of the body. Inhaling, sweeping the hands overhead. Exhaling back over to our fold. Big bend into the knees, melting down over the thighs. And then adding in a half forward fold. So pressing into the feet, straightening the knees, flattening the back, sliding hands to shins or thighs. Pausing for a breath, imagining lengthening the crown of the head away from the tail. And then next, exhale, slow sliding back over forward fold. Letting the upper body hang nice and soft, slow rolling back towards standing. And finding Tadasana. And once more, inhaling, lifting the hands. Exhaling over, forward fold. Inhaling, half forward fold, flat back. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands. This time could be a slow roll, or if you like, start that circle sweep up towards standing. Pressing into the feet to lift, hands come wide and overhead. And then we exhale the hands through heart center, back to mountain. Inhaling, lifting. Exhaling, fold. Inhaling, half fold. This time softening to plant the hands, and we'll pause here. So big bend into the knees so we can come down onto fingertips or palms, and then stepping back one leg at a time onto the knee, finding tabletop. Yeah, moving through warm-ups for the spine. So with our knees and feet about the same width apart as our hip joints, nice wide fingertips, pressing into finger pads as well as palms. And then again, that idea of inhaling into the length of the spine, imagine crown of the head drawing away from my tailbone, and then exhaling, lengthening tailbone toward heels. That motion rolls upward through the spine, lifting the mid-spine up towards the ceiling as gaze comes down. And then with my inhale, I lift the tailbone, lower the belly, open the heart, lift the gaze, and just flowing through a few of these cat tilts with the rhythm of your breath. And then settling back to neutral. And moving through a few side bends. So again, big inhale in the center, and then keeping my navel over the center of my mat. Exhale, head, hip, and foot come out to the left side. I glance back at my foot. Inhale brings everything back through center. Exhale, opposite side. And finding one or two more before coming back to tabletop. And then taking the left foot, sliding the left foot back behind us. And then bringing that left foot all the way out to the left side, turning the toes toward the top of your mat or your space, your room, wherever you're at. And then flowing into a twist with breath. So with an inhale, turning the heart toward that extended leg, lifting the left fingertips overhead. With an exhale, turning the heart back down toward the floor, fingertips reach under opposite arm. And flowing once more, using that inhale to expand upward, and then an exhale to just bring the left hand back to the mat for a moment. And then we're gonna walk our hands back in toward our right knee until we can lift up into a high kneel. So bringing the torso up over the hips, coming into gate pose. So bringing that left hand palm face up on the thigh. And we're gonna bring the right hand up overhead and then slide into a side bend, sliding that left hand down toward left ankle. Right palm faces the floor as fingertips reach overhead. And then lifting back up toward neutral, reaching fingertips toward the floor just in front of the knee. We're gonna bend over, bring those fingertips back to the floor, walk ourselves out so shoulders align with wrists. Slide that left foot back in line with the hip and then bring it across the right leg, just off the right side of the mat. And then bring the gaze all the way around to that right foot. Sorry, left foot. And we'll bring the gaze forward, bring the foot back in line with the hip, bring the knee down, getting ready to move into that twisting flow second sign. So right foot slides back, it comes all the way out to the right side. We turn the toes toward the top of our mat. And with that next inhale, twisting toward that extended leg, right fingertips reach overhead. Finding a flow with breath this side. And using an inhale to lift that right hand, and exhale to bring the hand back to the mat. We'll walk hands in toward our knee until we can lift ourselves up. Bring the right hand palm face up on the thigh. Left hand reaches overhead, and we slide into that side bend gate pose. Lifting back toward neutral. Fingertips reach for the floor in front of the knee. We'll bend over till we can find support with the fingers. Walk the hands out, plant the palms, slide that right foot back in line with the hip, all the way across midline, off the opposite side of our mat, and gaze comes back to the foot. And bringing the gaze back to the front of the mat, foot slides back in line with the hip. Knee comes down to meet the left, and then come back to a little bit of lift and lower for the spine, cat tilt, exhaling up, inhaling down. And then coming back to neutral. And if you have blocks, you can grab blocks. Otherwise, we're gonna come up onto the tips of the fingers. So we can pick one leg, start to step that leg up toward the top of our mat. Tuck the toe on the back foot, lift the knee so we can walk feet toward the top of our mat, finding forward fold. And then inhaling into that half fold shape, flat back. Exhaling, softening our way down. Inhale, slow roll or circle, sweep your way back up. Find your Tadasana. And again, at the top, inhaling to lift. Exhaling, fold. Inhaling, half fold. And again, exhaling, big, big bend into the knees, planting the fingertips or palms. We're going to step back again into that tabletop shape. And then sliding the left leg directly back behind you, we're going to lift the knee and point the toe. And then with movement coming from the hip, imagine you're going to draw some big circles in the air with that foot. And then switch the direction of the circles. And pause, bring that knee back down to tabletop. Slide that right leg back, lift the knee, point the toe, draw some big circles in the air. Switch directions. And pause, bringing that knee back down to meet the left. And then either coming back to that first side, repeating that same movement, or coming up to a downward facing dog, stepping the hands out a little forward of the shoulder, tucking the toes, lifting the tailbone, reaching the knees back, but not to the point where they're locked, pressing heels in the direction of the floor. And then if we're in downward facing dog, we're going to do similar movement to we did in tabletop. We're going to float that left leg all the way back behind us, point the toe, and then here drawing some big circles in the air. Switching directions. And bringing that foot back down to meet the right. Moving to the second side, right leg reaches behind. Point the toe, draw those big circles in the air. Switch direction of those circles. And pause, bringing that foot down to meet the left. So we're back in tabletop or down dog, and we're going to move toward forward fold at the top of our mat. So either stepping one leg forward at a time from table or from down dog, big bend into the knees, belly toward thighs. As we walk or hop or float the feet forward, eventually meeting in standing, Tadasana. And inhaling, lift. Exhaling our way over, forward fold. Inhaling, half forward fold. Exhaling, softening to plant the fingertips or palms. This time we're going to step back only with the left leg into a monk lunge. So foot slides back not very far. We're going to lower the left knee and untuck the toe. So we have about a 90-degree bend in both knees and the front hip. And then we're going to sweep those hands up overhead. Sweeping the arms down into the shoulder sockets, hips square to the front of the mat. And then inhaling, reaching to the fingertips. Exhaling, bringing the hands down to frame that front foot. Again, trying to create space by staying up on the fingertips, because we're going to slide that right leg all the way back behind us to that pointed toe position, like when we were making circles. And then we're going to bring that knee down to meet the left. We're going to slide that left leg back, point the toe, and then step that foot all the way forward toward the hands. Lift the hands up overhead, finding a monk lunge, second side. Bringing the hands down to frame that front foot. Tuck the right toe, lift the knee, slide or scoot that right foot forward to meet the left foot, forward fold. Slow roller circle, sweep your way up, meeting in Tadasana. And option to move through that same flow again, or to choose low lunge instead of monk lunge. So again, inhaling to lift the hands, exhaling our way over to a fold. Inhaling, half fold. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands. This time we'll lead with the right. So I'm going to slide that right leg back either just a little ways. So I've got those 90-degree bends in both knees, or back a little further. So I've got the left knee right over the ankle, but some expansion in the front of the right hip, finding a little stretch that side. Either way, monk lunge or low lunge, bringing the hands up overhead. Inhaling, reaching to the fingertips. Exhaling, bringing hands or fingertips down to frame that front foot. For in monk lunge, moving back to that tabletop position. For a little more extended, we're going to tuck the right toe, lift the knee, slide the left leg all the way back to three-leg dog or tail of the dog, pointing that toe. Bringing a foot down to meet the right. Right leg extends back behind us. Exhaling to step it forward. You choose how long your stance is, monk lunge or low lunge. We lower that left knee, untuck the toe, bring the hands overhead. And bringing hands down to frame that front foot. Tuck the left toe, lift the knee, slide, scoot, or maybe lift and float that back foot forward, forward fold. Slow roll or circle sweep back up. And Tadasana, inhaling at the top. Exhaling over fold. Inhaling half fold. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands. This time we're going to step both legs all the way back and find a plank. So maybe I'm on my fingertips, maybe I'm on palms, or maybe I'm on blocks. I'm going to send both legs all the way back, finding plank pose. And then lowering knees, chest, chin to find cobra. So knees lower to the mat, elbows are firming in toward the body. I'm going to lower heart toward my hands, keeping the belly lifted. And as I approach the floor, I'm going to slide the heart forward through the shoulders. And then using the low back, lifting the heart, lifting the gaze, cobra pose. Exhaling, allowing the heart and gaze to come back down. Let's lift and lower a couple times here. So inhaling again, expanding the heart forward, elbows drawing toward the back of the room. Exhaling, lowering back down. And then next time we come back down, we'll pause, pressing hands under shoulders, keeping the knees down. We're going to lift back through half plank. Option here, send your hips back a little bit, moving through tabletop, or lifting the knees, finding plank, and then lifting the tailbone, downward facing dog. So we move back through either our table or our down dog, and we'll move through that to come toward forward fold at the top of our mat. Eventually finding our way back to Tadasana. From Tadasana, inhaling, lift. Exhaling, lower. Inhaling, half lift. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands, sending both legs all the way back, plank pose. And if you like, lowering knees, chest, chin to find cobra, or lowering plank, low plank to find up dog. So for low plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, we lower the heart toward the hands, elbows still drawing toward the back of the room. We pause in that low plank shape, and then we roll forward over the toes, thighs stay floated. We open the heart, lift the gaze. Lifting, rolling back over the toes through plank, lifting the tailbone, downward facing dog. So again, we've moved back through either our table or our down dog. And then starting to make our way back toward the top of the mat. Slow rolling or circle sweeping up. Finding your mountain. And inhaling at the top. Exhaling our way over. Inhaling through a half fold. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands. Stepping both legs all the way back, finding your plank. And then either lowering knees, chest, chin to find cobra, or plank, low plank to find up dog. This time meeting back in tabletop. And then moving from tabletop back into a low lunge so we can add in some stretches. So again, coming up onto the tips of my fingers or grabbing blocks if I have them. I'm going to start to slide my left foot toward the top of my mat. I'm going to bring it forward so the ankle lands right under the knee. And then again, on the tips of my fingers, I'm going to move toward half split. So I'm going to keep the sole of my left foot connected to my mat. I'm going to start rocking my hips back toward my right heel, bringing my fingertips along with me, left knee reaching towards straight. And then I'm going to rock myself back a little further, lifting the left sole of the foot up off the mat, pulling it back toward my shin and allowing my head and shoulders to reach down a little closer to my left knee. And then I'll start to walk my way forward, allowing that left knee to come back in line with the ankle. And then I'm going to keep that knee aligned right over the ankle while I twist my heart and belly toward my left thigh, sliding my left hand to my hip or bringing the hand overhead. So in a revolved low lunge. And big inhale here. As we exhale, we'll slide or sweep that left hand back down. Walk the left foot out toward the left side of the mat while left hand comes inside the foot. And then a few options here. If you like, you can take your left hand to the inner left knee, gently press that knee out to the side, coming onto the outside edge of the left foot. If you like, you can tuck the right toe and lift the knee. If you like, if you have blocks handy, you can try stepping your forearms down onto a block. So some version of a lizard pose, deeper stretch. Then we'll start to slowly make our way back toward low lunge. So bringing hands back to the mat if they're not there. Left foot walks back in line with the hip and we bring that hand outside the foot. And we're going to bring the hips back just enough, come up onto the fingertips so that we can slide that left leg back, come back into our tabletop. And then before we go to the second side, just move the hips and spine a little. So cat tilts or side bends or circles. And then finding our way back to table, come up onto the tips of the fingers, start to step that right foot toward the top of the mat, bring in the right ankle just under the knee. And then keeping the sole of the right foot connected to the mat, starting to rock hips back toward left heel. And then peeling that right sole of the foot up off the mat, coming back a little further, allowing head, shoulders, draw a little closer to right knee. And walking our way forward, knee comes back in line with the ankle. We're going to plant that left hand just inside the foot, keeping the inner right thigh engaged to keep the knee in line. We turn heart and belly toward right thigh, slide the hand to the hip or release it overhead, stacking the shoulders. Sweeping or sliding that right hand back down. And bring it inside the foot, walk that foot out a little closer to the edge of our mat. And maybe bring in the hand to the knee, pressing that knee out to the side, coming onto the outer edge of the foot. Maybe tucking the left toe, lifting the knee. Maybe stepping down onto forearms. And then starting to make our way back toward low lunge. So maybe that's coming back up onto fingertips for you, or lowering that back knee, or bringing the knee back in line with the hip. Up on the fingertips, rocking the hips back just a little so we can slide that right foot back. So we're back in tabletop. Either find a little movement for hips and spine here, or move into your downward facing dog. Find a little movement for hips and spine there. And then slowly moving through that tabletop or downward facing dog to come back towards the top of our mat. Moving through our forward fold and finding our mountain. And inhaling, bringing the hands overhead, this time exhaling into chair. So sending the hips back and down a little, allowing a little more weight to come into the heel. Biceps frame the ears, and we keep fingertips and crown of head reaching toward the corner of the wall and the ceiling. Find a deep inhale here. As we exhale, we'll draw the hands down through heart center, taking a little bigger bend into the knees. As you inhale, release the hands out wide to the side. Send the hands back overhead. As you exhale, sit back and down through that chair, sliding the hands through heart center. Inhaling, pressing to lift. Exhaling, lower. And once more, inhaling to lift, exhaling into chair. We'll pause in chair. And then bring a little more weight over to your right foot. You can lift your left heel, and we're gonna slide it back for a warrior one. So if it's gonna come maybe 1.5 to 2 feet back my mat, I'm gonna turn the toes to point toward the front left corner of my mat and connect my left heel. I have a nice big bend into the right knee. And then I'm gonna take those pressing palms, I'm gonna send them up overhead and find a little bit of a back bend, opening through the heart. And then lifting back toward neutral, reaching those fingertips overhead. Separate the palms, bring them all the way around to the low back. Either rest the hands at the tops of the glutes or interlace the fingers. Straighten that right knee. And then either with hands resting as they are, or if they're interlaced, draw them toward that left heel. And then folding forward, finding pyramid. And with next in-breath, unwinding all the way back to warrior one. So we start to bring the hands back around, lift the torso, bend the right knee. I'm going to bring the palms together overhead, draw them back to heart center. Take a big lean forward, deeper bend in the right knee so I can lift that left heel, and then I'm going to slide it all the way forward to meet my right. So I'm back in chair. Pressing into the feet to lift, inhaling the hands wide and overhead. Exhaling through chair. Inhaling, lift. Exhaling, lower. And once more, and then again, we'll meet in that chair position. Bend into the knees, little lean forward, hands to heart. Weight comes over to the left foot. We'll lift that right heel. Slide it back, find Warrior one. Hips square to the front of the mat, big bend on the left, right heel connected, toes pointed toward front right corner of mat. Sending those fingertips overhead, find a little bit of a back bend. Lifting toward neutral, sweeping the hands around, resting them at the low back, or interlacing the fingers. Front knee straightens, and we keep the hands resting or draw them toward that right heel, and then we fold forward over the left leg. With next inhale, unwinding all the way back to warrior one. Bringing the palms together, drawing them to heart center. Staying lean forward. There we go. Lifting that right heel, deeper bend on the left. Slide or float that right foot forward into chair. Pressing it to the feet to lift. Inhaling the hands wide. This time exhaling right over to forward fold. So again, bending into the knees, hands through heart, and melting down over the thighs. And slow roll or circle sweep back towards standing. And then in your mountain, let's bring all our weight over to the left foot, and we're just going to take the right foot, slide it behind the left, so the legs are crossed, both soles of the feet still fully connected to the mat. And then we're going to move into a forward fold here. So again, sweeping the hands overhead, drawing the hands down through heart center, making sure neither of the knees are locked. We're going to melt down over the thighs. Fingertips reaching for the floor or block, or if it's in reach, fingertips find the floor. And then sliding that right foot back to beside the left. So feet are connected right under the hips. Slow rolling your way back up. Tadasana. Sliding left foot behind the right. Little bend into the knees, both feet connected. Lifting the hands. Folding our way over. Sliding the left foot back beside the right, feet under the hips, slow rolling our way up. And then let's step one foot toward the back of our mat. So whichever foot will facilitate you being able to move better and see better in your space. Bring that foot toward the back of your mat, and we're going to bring feet parallel to the short edge of our mat. Inhaling, bringing the hands overhead, exhaling over to a wide forward fold, reaching those fingertips down toward the floor, and then reach your hands through your legs, reaching toward the wall behind you, letting the crown of the head draw down toward the floor. And sliding and reaching the hands forward again, so they're just in front of the gaze. And then we're just going to walk both hands over toward your right foot. Walking back through center, over to the second side. Walking or reaching hands back through center, letting the upper body be nice and soft, so starting to slow roll back towards standing. Letting the arms just hang for a moment or hands come to the hips. We're going to turn both of the heels in, so toes are pointed toward the front corners of our mat. And then we're going to sink into a squat, so finding horse pose or goddess pose. So we're wide enough that our knees don't go further than our ankles. You can find nice deep squat, building a little bit of heat in the thighs. And then moving towards sunflowers and moonflowers. So releasing the hands up overhead, we'll press into the feet straight to the knees. We're going to scoop the arms up toward the sky. And then stay nice and long in the spine. Bend back into that deep squat. Scoop hands down toward the earth. Straightening the knees, hands reach overhead. Bending into the knees, hands sweep downward. And finding one more flow here, and then we'll meet with everything expanded. So we'll press into the feet, straighten the knees, send the hands out wide to the side, finding star pose, everything drawing away from the navel. And then moving into moonflowers. So bending back into that squat, drawing elbows in toward low ribs, palms stay open. Inhaling, expanding everything out to the sides. Exhaling, finding that squat, elbows draw in. And again, flowing once more. This time we will meet in that squat. So nice bend into the knees, elbows drawing in toward low ribs, palms active. You can keep the arms here if that feels good. You can rest hands at thighs or hips if that feels better. And then if you want to add a little bit more for the feet, we'll either lift one heel and lower it, lift the other heel, find a little side to side flow, or lift both heels, lower. Or if you want to balance, lift both heels and just pause there with the heels floated. And if we're flowing or lifted in the heels, lowering the heels, inhaling, expanding everything out wide into that star pose, knees straight, fingertips reaching, and then floating the hands down on either side of the hip. We're just going to heel to the feet all the way back in. We're back in standing. And then just moving through a little balance before we come down onto our mat. So moving to wherever feels like a supportive place for balance in your space, if you like to be next to a chair or a wall. And finding that nice, solid mountain pose. Bringing our weight over to our left foot, lifting the right heel, moving toward tree. So we'll open that right knee out to the right as far as it will go without taking the whole pelvis with it. And then either kickstanding those toes just inside the left ankle, bringing the sole of the foot to the calf. Or if you feel you have space, it's in your practice, bringing the sole of the foot to the inner thigh. And then we'll press really firmly into that standing leg. Find that nice control and length. And then choose an arm variation. Feels like a good balance of effort and ease. Find something in your space that isn't moving, allowing your gaze to rest on that for a few breaths. And then allowing that right knee to come back in line with the hips. Bringing it down to the floor, picking up that left leg, give it a nice good shake. And moving back to Tadasana. And then towards your tree, Vrikshasana on the second side. Maybe it's same variation for the lower body. Maybe it's different this side. And again, tuning into your balance of effort and ease. And then when you find that lower body variation, firming up that connection between the right sole of the foot so you can find that length and control. And then hands to hips, heart center, cactus arms, tree branch arms. Allowing your gaze to settle on that drishti, point of focus. Softening and slowing into a few more breaths. And allowing that knee to come back in line with the hip. Bringing that foot down to meet the right. Pick up standing leg. Give it a nice good shake. And then finding our way back to our mat or our space so we can come to one last Tadasana, feeling into that connection at the soles of the feet, feeling that lightness from the top of the head. Inhaling, lifting the hands high. Exhaling over to a fold. Inhaling through a half forward fold. Exhaling, softening to plant the hands, and we'll step back both legs onto the knees again, finding tabletop. And then moving into a wide knee child's pose. So allowing those knees to step out toward the sides of the mat, allowing the toes to point toward one another. Hips sink back toward the heels. And maybe we come down onto forearms, or maybe we reach fingertips out toward the top of our mat. And starting to walk hands in toward the body, lifting up toward kneeling. And either finding a comfortable kneeling for a moment or bringing the legs around in front of you, finding a comfortable seat for a moment. A little closer. So kneeling or seat, whatever feels good. We're just going to bring the hands out so they are parallel to the floor. Big inhale, imagine reaching those fingertips in opposite direction. And then exhale, we're just going to bring your left arm across the front of your chest. We're going to bring this right arm down below, and we're going to bring it to the outer part of the tricep or deltoid, and we're going to pull that arm in toward the body. And next inhale, releasing that side, reaching the fingertips out wide again. Exhaling right to that second side, crossing the right arm across the front of the chest. Left arm is going to dip below and then come to the outer part of the arm, draw it in toward the chest. And next inhale, releasing, sending everything wide. And then we're going to reach the left hand up overhead. We're going to bend the elbow, reach the fingertips down between the shoulder blades. We're going to bring this right hand in, and if it feels like it's in reach, we're going to bring the fingertips to that elbow. Otherwise, we're just going to imagine that one day that they might touch. If it's in reach, we'll bring fingertips to elbow, draw that elbow a little closer towards center, stay nice and tall in the crown of the head. And then next inhale, release, expand everything out wide again. Exhale, right to that second side. Imagining I could reach the elbow, or maybe it's in reach, I bring fingertips to that elbow, draw it in towards center line, staying nice and tall and neutral in the spine. Next inhale, releasing, reaching everything wide. Exhaling, floating the hands down beside the hips. Just give the arms a nice little shake. And then if you're in kneeling, go ahead and bring your legs around to the front, and we'll move through boat pose to come down onto our backs. So I'm going to scoot my tailbone back so I'm right about the center of my mat. I'm going to lean back just a little so I have about a 90-degree bend in the knees and in the hips, and I'm either going to scoop my hands to just behind the knees or I'm going to float hands alongside the knees. Maybe I just float my heels a little bit off the mat, or if it's in your practice, go ahead and straighten the knees, extend the heels. And then imagine you're just going to reach everything out wide to the sides, lowering yourself a little closer to the mat, moving as slowly as you would like to go, eventually coming all the way down onto your back. When you get to your back, bring both bent knees into the belly, finding knees to chest pose. Take a little side to side rock on the low back or draw some circles in the air with the knees. And then bring the knees back to stillness in center. Bring both hands over to your right knee. Give it a little squeeze into the belly. Bring your left leg down onto the mat, straightening the knee. So single side, knees to chest. And then start to slide that left heel in again, bending the knee, bringing the heel in closer to the glute, and then place your right ankle on your left thigh, moving into figure 4. So either that left heel can slide in a little closer. If I find enough stretch that way, I can keep the left sole of the foot on the floor. If I need a little more stretch, I'm going to lift those legs in toward the belly, bring in the hand to the left hamstring or shin, drawing those legs in a little further. And releasing the hands. If it's not there already, letting left sole of the foot come back to the mat. We'll unwind the right leg. Bring both soles of the feet to the mat for a moment. Press into the feet, lift the hips to recenter the hips and spine. Letting the spine come back to the mat. Both bent knees come into the belly, knees to chest pose. And then single side knees to chest on the second side. Hands draw that bent left knee into the belly. I send my right leg long. And then right heel starts to slide in as I lift the knee. I'll release the left leg, place the left ankle on the right thigh, maybe sliding that right heel in closer to glute if I can find a stretch that way, or lifting the legs up, bringing right hands to hamstring or shin, drawing those legs in a little closer. And if it's not there already, releasing that right sole of the foot back down to the mat. We'll unwind that left leg, press both feet into the floor, lift the hips, recenter hips and spine, and find any last little movement, wiggle, stretch, posture that feels good. If you have props or a sweater or a blanket, grab whatever you need for a few moments of relaxation at the end of our practice, making yourself nice and comfy, settling into an easy lying posture, allowing all the tissues of the body to soften and let go. All the soft tissues are relaxed, joints and bones are relaxed. The breath is easy and soft. Allowing the mind a few moments of true rest, true stillness. And allowing awareness to come all the way down into the feet, stretching the feet out away from the body. And then to the hands and arms, sliding the hands and arms overhead, reaching the fingertips away, finding this full body expansion, full body lengthening. And then gently bringing one bent knee into the belly, other bent knee into the belly. Bringing the hands around to the knees, giving the body a little squeeze. And then rolling yourself over to one side, finding the fetal position, releasing your lower arm overhead so you can cradle the head with the arm. And then using the support of your opposite arm, start slow, pressing your way up toward a comfortable seat or comfortable kneeling, or hop onto the edge of a chair. And one last big inhale together to bring the hands overhead. Exhale to bring the hands to heart center. And I will say thank you so much for being here with me this morning. Namaste.